Hello everyone. I think that there's a little bit of a mythology surrounding solo game developers. It's the myth of the auteur, one brilliant mind who does everything on their own, totally unburdened by out-of-touch managers or annoying coworkers. The allure of solo game development is that you get total creative control, as well as not needing to know anyone. You don't need to know artists or programmers, musicians, publishers. If you're passionate about your game, you can make it happen without finding anyone else who's as passionate about it as you are. But that's not really true, is it? I think the ideal of solo game development isn't very realistic. If you want to make something that's just for you and your friends, then you truly have the freedom to do whatever you want. But when people talk about solo game development, they often think about games that they've played. They're thinking of Balatro or Undertale or Ultra Kill. These are commercial games. When I say that, I don't mean that they were created to make money. I mean that they were released commercially. These aren't the games you made for you and your friends. If you want to make games just for the sake of making games, then that's great. I encourage you to do that. But if you want to make some sort of money for all the work you've been putting in, then what you design is going to be influenced by what your audience is already interested in. And if you don't want to take my word for it, then listen to the developers of Ultra Kill and Heretic's Fork, both of whom have independently talked about the importance of designing their games for a certain target audience. The links to both of their videos are in the description. It's also worth mentioning that commercial games are almost never truly solo projects. All three of the games that I mentioned earlier were made by multiple people. Making a video game requires programming, art, sound effects, music, animation, and writing. You may have the skills to tackle a couple of these, but almost no one can handle all of them. This brings us to board games, or tabletop games, or analog games, or whatever you want to call games that don't require a computer to play. For the last several years, I've been developing my own board game called Musketeers. There have been several times where I've considered making it a video game to get over specific design problems. Each time, I've chosen to keep it a board game and found other solutions to those problems. Developing a board game simply has too many advantages over developing a video game that I didn't want to give up. Almost all of these have to do with ease of production. Board games don't require programming, sound effects, music, or animation. Adding a new mechanic can be as simple as writing a couple of sentences in the rulebook. This makes prototyping, playtesting, and iterating on a design much faster than in a video game. This matters because game development always takes much longer than you expect, whether it's a board game or a video game. That being said, board games do have some additional challenges that video game developers don't have to deal with. When developing a board game, you have to pay attention to the physical components that your game is made of, as well as how much it'll cost to manufacture and ship those components. But a big difference between this and the elements that are exclusive to video game production is that these are things you don't have to worry about until much later in the development process. A video game might feel wrong in the moment if the animation is off, but you can throw away a million bad prototypes of board games before you even think about how you're going to ship your game to different continents. This is a trade-off that I think is absolutely worth it. If you're watching this video, then you're probably interested in developing a game of some sort. If developing a board game is so much easier for an individual than developing a video game, then why aren't you already developing board games? I think the answer to this is that you probably aren't developing board games because you don't play many board games. I think that if you're interested in game design, regardless of whether or not you want to make a game, avoiding board games is doing yourself a major disservice. Board games are an extremely useful educational tool because they can't hide things from players the way that video games can. For example, I love a video game called Art of Rally, but if I wanted to make a video game where cars control like in Art of Rally, then the best I can do is take a guess as to how the developers of Art of Rally made that system work the way it does. On the flip side, if I wanted to emulate the way that cars control in a board game, such as Heat, Pedal to the Metal, then all I have to do is read the rulebook. All of the rules are laid out for players to operate the game, which makes it easier to learn from as a game designer. Regardless of whether or not you're going to develop a board game, game development, as mentioned previously, is never really a solo process. As I've been working on Musketeers, I found that my most helpful resource are the people around me. Whether it's playtesting, advice from more experienced designers, or even just a friend to bounce ideas off of, the project wouldn't be anywhere near where it is today without the help of other people. For that reason, I'm making my own community. I want this to be a space for people to play Musketeers, as well as a place where people who are interested in game design can gather and meet each other. I'm organizing this community as a server on Discord. The link is in the pinned comment, and I hope to see you all there. Oh, and a final note about finding smaller games. itch.io is a good place to do that if you want to find those sort of smaller hobby games that people share with their friends.